Taylor Swift strolled down the bustling streets of Nashville, a city that had witnessed her meteoric rise from an aspiring songwriter to a global music icon. Dressed casually in jeans and a hoodie, she moved through the crowd with the practiced ease of someone who knew how to blend in when needed. The winter air was crisp, and the faint aroma of roasted chestnuts mingled with the sound of street performers, their melodies filling the space with a sense of vibrancy and life. It was an ordinary day for most, but it was about to become anything but for Taylor. Before we start, smash the like and subscribe buttons for more updates. As she passed a small park, her gaze fell upon a man seated on a worn-out bench. His appearance was unkempt, with layers of mismatched clothing and a scruffy beard that made him look far older than he probably was. He was hunched over, his hands clutching a cardboard sign that read, "Homeless, hungry, anything helps." Taylor's steps faltered, and she found herself inexplicably drawn to the man. There was something about him, something achingly familiar. She stepped closer, her heart pounding as recognition began to dawn. Could it be? She squinted, her mind racing back to her teenage years. "Mr. Harrington," she whispered, the words barely audible over the hum of the city. The man looked up, his tired eyes meeting hers. There was a flicker of confusion, then a spark of recognition. "Taylor?" His voice was raspy, but the warmth in it was unmistakable. It was indeed him, Mr. Harrington, her former English teacher, the man who had once inspired her with his passion for storytelling and poetry. The man who had encouraged her to write, to find her voice, to believe that her words mattered. She remembered sitting in his class, a shy teenager with big dreams, soaking up every lesson he offered. He had been more than a teacher. He had been a mentor, a guide, and a source of unwavering support. But now, here he was, a shadow of the man she had known, reduced to seeking charity from strangers. The sight was almost too much to bear. "Mr. Harrington, what happened?" she asked, her voice trembling. He looked away, a flush of embarrassment coloring his cheeks. "It's a long story, Taylor. Life. It didn't go the way I planned. I lost my job, my savings, everything. The pandemic hit and things just spiraled out of control. I've been on the streets for almost a year now." Taylor felt a lump rise in her throat. The idea that someone who had given so much to his students could end up in such a state was heartbreaking. She knelt beside him, ignoring the curious glances from passers-by. "You don't have to do this alone," she said firmly. "I'm going to help you." Mr. Harrington protested. Pride and a deep-seated sense of independence made him reluctant to accept her offer, but Taylor was nothing if not persistent. She called her driver and arranged for Mr. Harrington to be taken to a nearby hotel. She paid for a room, ensuring he would have a warm bed and hot meals for the foreseeable future. That evening, Taylor sat with him in the hotel's modest dining area. Over a simple meal, he opened up about the challenges he had faced. He spoke of losing his teaching position due to budget cuts, the mounting medical bills for his late wife, and the series of unfortunate events that had left him homeless. Despite everything, he spoke with a quiet dignity that only deepened Taylor's admiration for him. "You always told us to keep writing our stories no matter how tough things got," she said, her eyes glistening with unshed tears. "But you forgot to write yours, Mr. Harrington. You forgot that your story matters too." The next day, Taylor took things a step further. She contacted a network of professionals, lawyers, financial advisors, and social workers to help Mr. Harrington rebuild his life. She made discreet inquiries to find him a new teaching position, leveraging her influence to ensure he would have a stable source of income. But she didn't stop there. Inspired by his plight, she decided to shine a light on the broader issue of homelessness, particularly among educators and other professionals who had fallen on hard times. Taylor organized a benefit concert, pouring her heart and soul into the project. The event, titled "Stories That Matter," was designed to raise funds and awareness for homeless individuals across the country. She reached out to fellow artists, convincing them to perform and donate proceeds to the cause. The response was overwhelming, with fans and celebrities alike rallying behind the initiative. As the concert approached, Taylor invited Mr. Harrington to attend as her guest of honor. He was hesitant at first, uncomfortable with the attention, but she assured him that his story could inspire others. "You taught me the power of words," she said. "Now it's time for your words to make a difference. The night of the concert was electric. Thousands of fans filled the venue, their excitement palpable. Taylor took the stage, her guitar in hand, and began the evening with a heartfelt speech. She spoke of Mr. Harrington, of the impact he had had on her life, and of the countless others who had similar stories but no platform to share them. "Tonight isn't just about music," she said. "It's about people. It's about remembering that everyone has a story worth telling and everyone deserves a chance to turn the page." The crowd erupted in applause, their cheers echoing through the venue. Taylor performed a mix of her classic hits and new songs written specifically for the occasion, each one carrying a message of hope and resilience. Other artists followed suit, their performances weaving a tapestry of solidarity and compassion. Toward the end of the evening, Taylor invited Mr. Harrington onto the stage. He walked out to a standing ovation, his face a mixture of awe and humility. With Taylor by his side, he shared his story, his voice steady despite the emotion that threatened to overwhelm him. He spoke of the challenges he had faced, but also of the kindness that had brought him back from the brink. "Taylor reminded me that no matter how lost we feel, we're never truly alone," he said. "Her belief in me has given me a second chance, and I hope my story can inspire others to keep believing too." For Mr. Harrington, life took a dramatic turn. With Taylor's help, he secured a position teaching creative writing at a community college. He moved into a modest apartment, his first home in years, and began rebuilding his life one step at a time. He also started a blog, sharing his experiences and encouraging others to persevere through their struggles. As for Taylor, the experience left a profound mark on her. She continued to advocate for social causes, using her platform to uplift those whose voices often went unheard. But she always credited Mr. Harrington with teaching her the importance of empathy and the power of storytelling. Months later, during one of her sold-out concerts, Taylor paused between songs to address the crowd. "There's a man out there tonight who changed my life long before I ever stepped on a stage," she said. "He believed in me when I was just a kid with a notebook full of dreams. And now I get to return the favor. So thank you, Mr. Harrington, for everything." The camera panned to the audience, capturing Mr. Harrington's tearful smile as the crowd erupted in applause. In that moment, it was clear that the bond between teacher and student had come full circle, a testament to the enduring impact of kindness, compassion, and the belief that everyone's story deserves to be told. Taylor's encounter with Mr. Harrington marked the beginning of a life-changing journey, not just for him, but for her as well. While she had already achieved global fame, wealth, and influence, this experience revealed a part of her humanity that she hadn't fully explored before. The realization that someone so pivotal in her formative years had fallen into such hardship struck a chord deep within her, igniting a fire she hadn't known was there. It wasn't just about helping one man, it was about addressing a problem that had quietly existed for far too long. After the benefit concert, Taylor took a moment to reflect on the larger picture. She sat in her home office, surrounded by handwritten notes and sketches, planning her next steps. The success of the concert had raised millions of dollars, but she knew that money alone wouldn't solve the systemic issues underlying homelessness and economic disparity. She wanted to create a lasting impact, something that would ripple outward and continue to grow long after the concert's glow had faded. The step was establishing a foundation. She named it Turning Pages, a nod to Mr. Harrington's love for literature and the metaphor of starting a new chapter in life. The foundation's mission was clear: to provide resources and support for individuals facing homelessness, with a focus on education, career reintegration, and mental health services. Taylor knew that many people like Mr. Harrington had fallen through the cracks, victims of circumstances beyond their control, and she wanted to give them the tools to rebuild their lives. The foundation's work began with immediate aid, funding shelters, providing meals, and offering temporary housing solutions. But Taylor's vision extended further. She believed in addressing the root causes of homelessness, which meant tackling issues like unemployment, lack of affordable housing, and inadequate access to health care. To achieve this, she partnered with experts in various fields, assembling a team of dedicated professionals who shared her passion for change. One of her major initiatives was the creation of a scholarship program for aspiring educators. Taylor had always valued the role teachers played in shaping young minds, and she wanted to ensure that financial struggles wouldn't prevent talented individuals from pursuing careers in education. The program was named the Harrington Fellowship in honor of her former teacher, a tribute that deeply moved him when she shared the news. But Taylor didn't stop there. She wanted to give Mr. Harrington a more active role in the foundation. She invited him to join the board of directors, a position he initially hesitated to accept. "Taylor, I don't have the experience or credentials for something like this," he said, his voice tinged with doubt. "Nonsense," she replied, her tone firm yet encouraging. "You have something far more valuable than credentials. You have a story that people need to hear. You've lived this reality, and that makes you the perfect person to guide us." With Taylor's unwavering support, Mr. Harrington accepted the role, and his contributions proved invaluable. He brought a unique perspective to the table, one that grounded the foundation's work in real-world experience. He also became a sought-after speaker, sharing his journey at events and conferences, where his words resonated deeply with audiences. His humility and authenticity made him an inspiration to countless individuals, and he quickly became a symbol of hope for those facing similar struggles. Meanwhile, Taylor's advocacy work began to take on a broader scope. She started meeting with policymakers and government officials, using her platform to push for legislative changes aimed at addressing homelessness. She advocated for increased funding for affordable housing, better support systems for those transitioning out of shelters, and reforms in the education system to ensure that teachers were adequately compensated and protected from financial instability. Her efforts weren't without challenges. She faced criticism from some quarters, with skeptics questioning her motives and accusing her of using the cause as a publicity stunt. But Taylor remained undeterred. She had learned to tune out the noise and focus on the work that mattered. Besides, for every critic, there were hundreds of supporters, fans, activists, and everyday people who rallied behind her cause and amplified her message. One of the most rewarding aspects of her work was witnessing the personal transformations that resulted from the foundation's efforts. Taylor often visited shelters and community centers funded by Turning Pages, taking the time to speak with individuals and hear their stories. These interactions fueled her determination, reminding her that behind every statistic was a human being with dreams, struggles, and an incredible capacity for resilience. There was Amanda, a single mother who had lost her home after fleeing an abusive relationship. With the foundation's help, she was able to secure a stable job and enroll her children in school. There was Marcus, a veteran who had struggled with PTSD and substance abuse but found a path to recovery through counseling services funded by the foundation. And there was Sam, a young artist who had been living on the streets but discovered his talent for painting through an art therapy program. Each story was a testament to the power of compassion and the importance of giving people a second chance. As Turning Pages grew, so did its impact. The foundation launched a mentorship program, pairing individuals who had successfully transitioned out of homelessness with those still navigating the process. The program fostered a sense of community and mutual support, breaking down the isolation that often accompanied homelessness. Taylor was particularly proud of this initiative, as it reflected her belief in the power of human connection. In the midst of her philanthropic endeavors, Taylor continued to make music, but her approach had shifted. Her new songs were infused with the themes of resilience, empathy, and social justice, drawing from the stories she had encountered through her work. Her albums became a platform for storytelling in its purest form, giving voice to those who might otherwise go unheard. Fans responded with overwhelming enthusiasm, finding inspiration and comfort in her lyrics. One song in particular became an anthem for the movement, titled "A Place to Call Home." It told the story of a man who had lost everything but found his way back through the kindness of strangers. The song's poignant lyrics and haunting melody struck a chord with listeners, and it quickly rose to the top of the charts. Proceeds from the single were donated entirely to Turning Pages, further fueling its mission. Amid all this, Taylor never lost sight of the person who had inspired it all. Her bond with Mr. Harrington grew stronger with each passing day. They often spent time together, reminiscing about the past and dreaming about the future. He became a mentor to her once again, offering wisdom and perspective that kept her grounded in the face of her ever-expanding responsibilities. One evening, as they sat on the porch of his new home, a modest but cozy house provided through the foundation, Mr. Harrington turned to her with a thoughtful expression. "You've done so much, Taylor," he said. "Not just for me, but for so many others. Do you ever stop to think about what drives you? What keeps you going?" Taylor smiled, her gaze drifting to the horizon. "I think it's knowing that every person we help is another story that gets to continue," she said. "You taught me that stories are what connect us, what make us human. And I guess I just want to make sure as many stories as possible have a chance to be told." Mr. Harrington nodded, his eyes glistening. "You've turned my story into something I never imagined it could be. For that, I'll always be grateful." Years later, the impact of Taylor's work was undeniable. Turning Pages had become a national movement, with chapters in cities across the country. The foundation had helped thousands of individuals transition out of homelessness, provided scholarships to aspiring educators, and sparked meaningful conversations about the systemic changes needed to address economic inequality. Taylor's efforts had also inspired other celebrities to follow her lead, creating a ripple effect of goodwill and advocacy. But for Taylor, the true measure of success wasn't in the numbers or accolades. It was in the moments of connection. It was in the letters she received from people whose lives had been changed, in the hugs shared at shelters, and in the quiet gratitude of a former teacher who had once inspired her to dream big. And through it all, she carried with her the words of Mr. Harrington, a reminder of the enduring impact of those who believe in us when we need it most. Keep writing your story. The world needs to hear it. Taylor Swift's journey with Turning Pages had grown far beyond what she initially envisioned. What began as an effort to help a former teacher had transformed into a mission that transcended personal connections. Her work now touched communities across the globe, each one impacted by the relentless drive of a woman who had once been a shy teenager scribbling lyrics in her notebook. Yet, even with the foundation's remarkable success, Taylor knew that their work was just beginning. The expansion of Turning Pages brought new challenges, and Taylor embraced them with the same determination she had shown in her music career. One of the foundation's most ambitious projects was the establishment of transitional housing villages. These were not just shelters. They were designed to be temporary homes that provided individuals and families with a dignified, supportive environment as they rebuilt their lives. Each village included small, fully equipped homes, communal spaces, and access to on-site counseling, job training, and childcare. Taylor personally visited the construction sites of these villages, often rolling up her sleeves to help plant trees, paint walls, or simply talk to the workers about their experiences. She wanted to understand every aspect of the process, from the architectural designs to the logistical challenges of integrating these communities into urban areas. Her hands-on involvement earned her the respect of the foundation's staff, who were inspired by her commitment to the cause. One of these villages, located just outside Los Angeles, became a flagship model for future projects. Taylor named it Second Verse, a nod to the idea that life could always have a fresh start, just like a song's next chapter. When the village officially opened, it welcomed over 50 families who had been living in shelters or on the streets. Among them was a single father named Diego, who had lost his home after losing his job during the pandemic. Diego was initially hesitant to move into the village, worried about the stigma often associated with transitional housing. But when he arrived, he was greeted with warmth and respect. His children were enrolled in local schools, and he began attending job training sessions. Within months, Diego had secured a stable job as an electrician and was saving money to move into permanent housing. At the village's first community event, he stood before his neighbors and shared his story, tears streaming down his face as he expressed his gratitude. Taylor, who attended the event, was deeply moved by Diego's speech. She later sat with him and his children, listening to their dreams for the future. It was moments like these that reminded her why she had started Turning Pages. The joy of seeing someone regain their sense of dignity and hope was a reward that no amount of fame or fortune could match. Beyond the housing projects, Taylor began to delve into the role of education in breaking the cycle of poverty. She launched the Red Right Rise initiative, a program aimed at improving literacy rates in underserved communities. Partnering with schools, libraries, and local organizations, the program provided free books, tutoring services, and creative writing workshops. Taylor's own love for literature was at the heart of this project, and she often visited schools to read to children and discuss the power of storytelling. One memorable visit took place in a small town in rural Kentucky. Taylor arrived at an elementary school carrying a stack of her favorite childhood books. She spent the day reading to the students and talking about how writing had helped her navigate her own struggles. At the end of the visit, a little girl named Lily approached her, clutching a notebook. "I want to be a writer just like you," she said shyly. Taylor knelt down, her eyes sparkling with encouragement. "Then keep writing, Lily. Write every day, even if it's just a little bit. Your words matter and the world needs to hear them." Lily's story became a symbol of the program's impact, and Taylor often cited her in speeches and interviews. Over the years, Read, Write, Rise expanded to include online resources, making it accessible to children and adults worldwide. The initiative not only improved literacy rates but also empowered individuals to share their stories, fostering a sense of agency and belonging. As the foundation grew, so did Taylor's understanding of the complexities of homelessness and poverty. She began to explore the intersections of these issues with mental health, addiction, and systemic inequality. This led to the creation of the Pathways Project, a comprehensive program that combined mental health services, addiction recovery support, and vocational training. The goal was to address the underlying causes of homelessness, providing individuals with a holistic path to stability. One of the program's early participants was a man named Robert, a former engineer who had lost everything due to a struggle with alcoholism. Through the Pathways Project, Robert received the counseling and support he needed to overcome his addiction. He also rediscovered his passion for engineering, enrolling in a certification program funded by the foundation. A year later, Robert was not only employed but also mentoring others who were navigating similar challenges. Robert's transformation became a cornerstone of Pathways Project's success, and Taylor frequently highlighted his story as an example of what could be achieved with the right support systems. She also used her platform to advocate for increased funding for mental health services, emphasizing that homelessness was often a symptom of deeper, unaddressed issues. Meanwhile, Taylor's music continued to evolve, reflecting the lessons she had learned through her philanthropic work. Her lyrics became richer, more introspective, and deeply connected to the human experience. Critics praised her ability to weave social commentary into her songs without losing the emotional intimacy that had always defined her music. One particularly powerful album, Echoes of Empathy, was inspired entirely by the stories she had encountered through Turning Pages. Each track was a tribute to the resilience of the human spirit, from the haunting ballad Cardboard Dreams to the triumphant anthem Rise Up. The album's release was accompanied by a documentary that chronicled the lives of individuals helped by the foundation, giving viewers an unfiltered look at the realities of homelessness and the impact of compassion. The documentary, titled Turning Pages: Stories of Hope, was met with widespread acclaim. It premiered at film festivals, winning several awards for its raw and heartfelt portrayal of the human condition. Taylor attended the premieres alongside Mr. Harrington, who had become an integral part of the foundation's public face. His eloquence and authenticity continued to inspire audiences, and he often joked that he had gone from being a teacher to being a reluctant celebrity. Despite the demands of her work, Taylor remained deeply connected to the people she was helping. She often visited shelters and community centers unannounced, sitting down with individuals to hear their stories and to offer encouragement. These interactions fueled her passion and informed the foundation's strategies, ensuring that its efforts remained grounded in the realities of those it served. One such visit took her to a women's shelter in Chicago, where she met a woman named Carla. A survivor of domestic abuse, Carla had fled her home with nothing but the clothes on her back. Through Turning Pages, she received not only shelter but also legal support to navigate the complex process of starting over. When Taylor met her, Carla was preparing to move into her own apartment, her eyes filled with a mixture of fear and hope. "You're stronger than you know," Taylor told her, holding her hands tightly, "and you're not alone. We're with you every step of the way." Carla's journey became another testament to the power of community and compassion. Taylor later invited her to speak at a foundation event where her story moved the audience to tears. Carla's courage and resilience inspired countless others, proving that even in the darkest moments, there was always a way forward. As the years passed, Turning Pages continued to grow, touching lives in ways Taylor could never have imagined. The foundation's success attracted attention from around the world, and Taylor found herself traveling to other countries to share her vision and collaborate with international organizations. She visited refugee camps, rural villages, and urban centers, learning from each community and applying those lessons to her work. In one particularly memorable trip, Taylor traveled to India to visit a community center funded by the foundation. There, she met women who had started small businesses through microloans provided by Turning Pages. These women, many of whom had faced immense challenges, spoke with pride about their newfound independence and the opportunities they were creating for their families. Inspired by their stories, Taylor launched the Empowerment Fund, a global initiative aimed at supporting women entrepreneurs in underserved regions. The fund provided resources, training, and financial support, enabling women to build sustainable livelihoods and contribute to their communities. Through it all, Taylor remained grounded, crediting the people she met for teaching her more than she could ever hope to give. She often reflected on how her journey had started, with a chance encounter in a park and a simple act of kindness. That moment had set off a chain reaction, proving that even the smallest actions could have far-reaching consequences. Taylor Swift's work with Turning Pages had become a sprawling endeavor, touching countless lives and inspiring a movement that extended far beyond what anyone could have anticipated. As she delved deeper into the complexities of poverty and systemic inequality, she realized the importance of addressing the nuances of these issues on a global scale. Her mission evolved into one of bridging gaps between communities, industries, and nations to create a unified effort against homelessness and disenfranchisement. One of her most ambitious undertakings was the development of the Compass Network, a global coalition of nonprofits, corporations, and governments committed to eradicating homelessness through innovation and collaboration. Unlike traditional foundations, the Compass Network focused on creating interconnected systems that shared resources and expertise. Taylor envisioned it as a platform where best practices could be exchanged, new technologies could be implemented, and local organizations could receive the support they needed to scale their efforts. For example, in San Francisco, Turning Pages partnered with a tech company to develop a mobile app that connected individuals experiencing homelessness with real-time information about available resources, from shelter beds to meal programs. In another city, the foundation worked with architects and urban planners to design modular housing units that could be quickly assembled in underutilized spaces. These solutions weren't just about addressing immediate needs. They were about creating sustainable models that could be replicated around the world. Taylor also began focusing on education as a long-term solution to homelessness. She established the Next Chapter Initiative, a program that provided scholarships, mentorship, and internships to young people at risk of falling into poverty. The program was designed to break cycles of generational poverty, giving participants the tools they needed to build stable, fulfilling lives. Many of the initiative's graduates went on to become leaders in their communities, paying forward the opportunities they had received. One such graduate was Jasmine, a young woman from Detroit who had spent much of her childhood in and out of shelters. Through the Next Chapter Initiative, Jasmine was able to attend college where she studied social work. After graduating, she returned to her hometown to start her own nonprofit focused on youth homelessness. When Taylor attended the ribbon-cutting ceremony for Jasmine's organization, she couldn't help but feel a profound sense of pride and gratitude. "You're proof that one opportunity can change everything," Taylor told Jasmine. "And now you're creating opportunities for others. That's how we change the world, one story at a time." As Taylor reflected on the impact of Turning Pages and its many offshoots, she recognized that the real power of the foundation wasn't in the money it raised or the programs it created. It was in the stories. Stories of resilience, transformation, and the unyielding hope that people found when they were given a chance to thrive. These stories, shared in classrooms, boardrooms, and across social media, had sparked a movement of empathy that continued to grow. Taylor's journey had taught her that change wasn't about sweeping gestures or singular heroes. It was about collective effort, the belief that small acts of kindness could ripple outward and transform lives. And as she looked toward the future, she knew her story, and the stories of those she had helped, were only just beginning. If you liked this video, please give it a like and subscribe to our channel. Also, leave your comments below and tell us, what are your thoughts on Taylor Swift helping her former teacher? We want to hear from you. Thank you for watching and see you next time.